one of the most important things that I tell business owners that I work with is you've probably got a lot of confusion and a lot of complexity that you just don't realize is there. And my job, as a brand architect and a strategist is to come in and evaluate everything to help them continue the things that are going well and then find those gaps and opportunities where they can do other things, more than likely in a phased approach. But I'll tell you what, a lot of leaders just have the wrong perception about clarity. They think that it's going to be this catalytic, the lights come down from the heavens and I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. And this is the magic that has been given to me and to impart unto the world. And in reality, clarity is just direction. It's knowing what you shouldn't do, what you should do, and letting that be the filter through which you make all of your branding and marketing decisions.
This is the Entrepreneurs United podcast with your hosts, John St. Pierre and Rich Hoffman.
Hey entrepreneurs, today we're talking with Charlie Sells, who believes clarity is more important than anything, and he helps businesses get rid of messy marketing in just 30 days. Welcome, Charlie.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Tell us a little bit about messy marketing and how do you get rid of it in as soon as 30 days?
I think a lot of entrepreneurs commit what I call random acts of marketing, where over time they have just piled up a bunch of tactics. It's rooted in this really great intention that we've all had, which is trial and error. We want to try a bunch of things. We want to see what works and what sticks, but especially entrepreneurs who have small teams or even solopreneurs, a lot of times they don't have the real time to evaluate what is working or what is not working. And they just kind of continue to do a bunch of stuff where marketing is concerned. And so one of the most important things that I tell business owners that I work with is you've probably got a lot of confusion and a lot of complexity that you just don't realize is there. And my job, as a brand architect and a strategist is to come in and evaluate everything to help them continue the things that are going well and then find those gaps and opportunities where they can do other things, more than likely in a phased approach. But I'll tell you what, a lot of leaders just have the wrong perception about clarity. They think that it's going to be this catalytic, the lights come down from the heavens and I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. And this is the magic that has been given to me and to impart unto the world. And in reality, clarity is just direction. It's knowing what you shouldn't do, what you should do, and letting that be the filter through which you make all of your branding and marketing decisions.
You had said something about there's a lot of confusion and complexity and they don't realize it's there. One of the things that flagged in my mind was, if there's a lot of confusion and complexity and they don't realize it's there, why would they care?
Yeah, that's a great question. At the end of the day, it's going to bleed out into your revenue. It's going to erode your brand trust. It's going to cause customers to essentially not buy your stuff. Product, services, doesn't really matter. But most don't realize that it starts internally with, just making poor decisions. And I don't mean bad decisions, because bad decisions happen. You're going to make a wrong decision. You're going to have, a gut feeling or something like that. But poor decisions by contrast are decisions that are just made very quickly. Because we've already done it, I need to move on to the next thing. There's something else that is going to take precedent over whatever this is. And for the people that you work with, those poor decisions lead to things like duplicated work, people doing the same thing and having different versions of stuff. Everybody's going to waste time. Morale is going to drop. Your turnover is going to go up. It's going to slow all of that momentum and creativity internally. And then externally, you're going to have frustrated customers, which is going to lead to missed opportunities. Your brand trust is going to completely erode, and then eventually you're going to lose money. And so a lot of business owners, again, they start at that bottom line to say, we're losing money. What's the root cause? Rather than looking internally and saying, are we creating confusion and complexity as leaders, managers, or anybody who's in a seat of decision making?
Charlie, I want to extend on Rich's question. We're talking to entrepreneurs and leaders within companies. If they don't know it's there, then how would they know to reach out to you? And so speak to them directly. If they're listening to this, they're like, that's not me. I don't know who they're talking about, but it's certainly not my business. Yep. How would you hit them right in the nose and go, no, this is you. And here's how you would know. 1, 2, 3. This is you. Listen up for the next 20 minutes.
Yep. I would say a couple of things. If you use phrases like, I don't know, or I'm not sure, or I have a lot of ideas and I just don't know how to prioritize them, chances are you've got a lot of stuff in your head that's just not making it out to your team and therefore to your customers. Those are the three that I hear the most often. The other one is normally somebody thinks there's a silver bullet. if I just did social media, if I just got on a stage, if we just created the next right thing, thinking that that is going to be the thing that's going to solve all of our marketing problems, right? And oftentimes it's more systemic than just one thing. And then the other thing I would say was, if you can actually ask yourself internally, is what I set out to do, is my vision actually being realized, if you're a vision caster or a decision maker? And if not, where is the breakdown happening? Did I give the wrong data? Did I give the wrong direction? Am I not listening to the right voices? Am I not asking the right number of questions? It's a very introspective exercise. And John, for a lot of your listeners, I'm sure that's where they sit. There's just something that feels off, but we haven't really done the work to investigate and figure out what it is.
What about the team that says, yes, we are realizing our vision? We know there's not a silver bullet. We're not running around saying, I don't know, and I'm not sure. And by the way, when we are, we consider that vulnerability, and that's a good thing in our culture. But our marketing's good. We look at it every year. We try to prune it. If there were better things to do, we'd be doing those things.
Yeah. It's honestly kind of a unicorn, Rich. And I would say that's probably good for a season. I think a lot of teams can really find their groove, especially big marketing teams. If you've got a copywriter, a designer, a developer, a marketer, a product manager, if you've got this entire team that is in concert with one another and everybody is clear and everybody is aligned, and I've been on several of these teams too. Man, there's nothing like that. When everybody has a clarity of direction, a clarity of role, the freedom and the opportunity to live within that role, I mean, it's unstoppable. And some of my mentors have even said there's some unstoppable momentum that happens when you can just continue to do that. It's rinse and repeat. It's really, really great. I think a lot of times that could lead to stagnation, and that can lead to complacency, where we do feel like it is a set it and forget it thing. But in a rapidly changing world, if you're not thinking about, AI optimization for your landing pages, if you're not thinking about how something different may crawl some of your marketing, or how your competitors may be on-ramping in a similar way that you are, well, now we've got a different problem, because we've started to slip into a comfort zone, if you will. And so I tell a lot of folks that say, yeah, everything is great. I'm like, great. What questions have you maybe not asked, or what things could you investigate? Because at worst, and I think this is where a lot of leaders are afraid, at worst, you're just going to get confirmation that what you're doing is working. That's the worst case scenario, if everything is just humming like it should. And at best, you're going to discover the new gaps and opportunities. And it's more low risk if you're willing to do that while things are good.
I have a little challenge for the three of us. I want to focus on the I don't know.
Charlie, when John sets up challenges, he usually sets them up to win himself. So
No, there's no winner in this. It's both Rich and I coach entrepreneurs and businesses. And Rich, we have certainly seen lack of clarity in this area.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on this I don't know question. What's a question, Rich, that you ask an entrepreneur about their marketing that you frequently hear, oh, I'm not sure. I don't know. What's a question you would ask? And I'd love to hear one from you as well. And I have one that comes to mind that I almost get I don't know like 100% of the time.
I think one of the things that Charlie just hit on, all of us would get a lot of I don't knows on, which is, how are you using AI optimization for your landing pages? Like, my question for you, Charlie, when I was like, there are a lot of teams that feel like what they don't know is vulnerability. Like, we're pretty good. Like, I actually think that's a majority of teams, but I don't think the majority of teams actually are pretty good. I think they don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
And the fact that they don't know that they don't know lacks curiosity. And when you drop things in the conversation like AI optimization for landing pages, I think a bunch of people that identified with my description went, whoop, what? What is that? Or how competitors are on-ramping.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people that would go, I don't know. So that's actually the first thing that comes to mind, John, is Charlie dropped two things. I think I would get a lot of I don't knows from the entrepreneurs I work with.
So that's a question. Like, hey, what are you doing for optimizing your AI strategy for your landing page? I have no idea. That's a fantastic one. Charlie, what's one you would have? Like that you would get an I don't know on?
When I work with small business owners, a lot of them just don't know where to start. I don't know what I don't have. I'm working with a business owner right now who all they want to do is what they are so good at, which is
Yep.
go make a lot of good food and a lot of great relationships in the community.
Yep.
And when we started working together, that was the predominant question of, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate online ordering. I don't know how to build a website. I don't know what my social presence should look like. Oh, by the way, I don't even have a logo. So where do I start with all of this?
Yep.
And I think the most valuable thing that a lot of business owners don't have is an objective expert. And an objective expert, I know I'm self-promoting here, and I know you guys have the same conversation with some of your folks, right? But if you don't know anything about AI, go hire an AI expert, so-called expert, if we can call them experts. I don't know that we're that far down the AI road yet. But go hire somebody that can help you get a 40,000 foot view of your business again and say, hey, I know this is going to sound weird, but you're in the food service space. I want to tell you about what one of my leadership development clients has been doing, because I think that might inform one of the next decisions that we make. Getting them to see that their bubble can actually be a little bit bigger, and they can think differently and more strategically without it being overwhelming.
Okay. Rich, you're right. I think I won. Here's my question.
I knew it. I knew it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But your question was, if you ask an entrepreneur today, what's your AI strategy for a landing page? As an example, they would say, I don't know. And I love yours, Charlie, as well, which is you ask them where they should start, what they start doing. I don't know where I should start. Here's the question that I think I ask, and 95% of the entrepreneurs I'm working with cannot answer, and they say, I don't know. When I say, oh, you're spending $600 a month on a marketing company, or $600 a month on Google Ads, or $600 a month on SEO, or whatever it may be, how is that working for you exactly? Show me the numbers.
Yep.
I don't know. They have no clue. I've been working with entrepreneurs and their P&Ls, specifically looking at their spend. And I'm not a marketing person. I just asked that question. I was like, oh, you're spending this amount on this strategy. How's that working? I don't know. I've just been doing it for the last 3 years.
Yikes.
It's just what we do.
You run into
That's
that
right.
one as well, Charlie and Rich?
All the time. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs and business owners that I work with that have had that experience on steroids, where they've spent 5 figures or more on a marketing strategy that was really just, this is our playbook and you're going to do what we say, regardless of what you think your goals are, because we know what works, right? The seat that I get to sit in more often is just to help them think through all of those pieces, to say, yeah, you probably don't need to be doing ads right now because you're seeing a really garbage conversion rate. But let's go back to maybe some owned audience things, some internal marketing. Where's your email list? Could we do some SMS promotions, right? All these things that we might think are antiquated, but actually still work depending on who your audience is and what their actual behavior is. Yeah. And I know that's the case with a lot of business owners, where there's almost this golden goose idea of like, a marketing agency could solve all of this. But if you don't know how to tie that to your bottom line, it does become, again, just a pile of spending with no result.
Yeah, you can't manage what you're not measuring, and no idea what's going on. Rich, you're going to say something?
Charlie, your opener on random acts of marketing, my mind went to just so many different examples. I think the same thing happens with our credit cards, that there are random monthly billings. I signed up for Peacock like 2 years ago because there was a UFC fight. And it was like, oh, it's only $39.99 for that. And the UFC fight, usually they're like $80. I'll sign up for that and I'll cancel it later. Sure enough, didn't cancel it.
Yep.
As an example of one, I think I've got multiple of these that are just random things that came in. I think there are a lot of random acts that we do, and then we just accumulate them because that's just what we do. And we're just kind of used to that. And we get a little numb to it. So if an entrepreneur who's listening goes, I think I have some random acts, I don't think I'm well coordinated. Hey, I've got about an hour this afternoon that I could do something. Charlie, what should I do for about an hour to better coordinate my random acts of marketing?
Well, you've said the magic word already, which is curiosity. That is where every leader, every business owner should start. If you can't think of the last time you got curious about your own brand, it's probably time to take an hour or two, or an afternoon, or a weekend, or whatever is most helpful, to just sit down and look at it.
Actually, what does that mean? What am I doing for the hour when I'm curious about my own brand?
Look at your own social posts. Don't necessarily look at the data behind it, the analytics. Those are going to be important, but look at your social posts and ask yourself, is this representative of our brand? Is this actually moving the needle for us? Is this how I would have said it from the get-go? Does it fit our brand standards? Do we
I
have
love it.
brand
Give me
standards?
more. Look at social
Yeah.
posts. I go, check. I know exactly what that means. I could
Mhm.
spend 10 or 15 minutes doing that. How am I
Yep.
spending the rest of my 45 minutes? What am I doing?
Look at your email rates. Email is one of the most unsung heroes of marketing, especially
What is
owned
an
marketing.
email rate and how the heck do I look at it?
I should have said email open rate. Email open rates, email click rates, those are easy to find on most dashboards where you can say, we sent this campaign to 100,000 people and 10,000 of them opened it. That's, a 10% open rate. And then, 2.3% of them clicked on it. Is
So
that
look at the
satisfactory?
content in the email
Mhm.
and look at the open rates. Got
Both.
it. That's another part of the 15 minutes. What
Yep.
am I doing for the next half hour?
I think the other thing is if you have a sales team, go talk to your sales team. Ask how your customers are actually talking about your product. And if they're saying things that are radically different than your marketing copy, you got a disconnect problem. And you probably have a messaging and a positioning problem that can be cleaned up pretty quickly.
Give me the 2 or 3 questions I would want to ask my sales team.
What is the biggest question that our customers are asking about our product? What is the biggest objection that they raise when they say like we can't borrow? You can also go look at Google reviews and if you have Zendesk or any other kind of customer service platforms, those are two that I always start with. And I would also ask the sales team, what's something we're not saying right now to our customers that we should be saying? Because they're the front lines for a lot of your business. And they're the ones who are going to be arguably the most in tune with how your customers think and act and behave. And at the end of the day, purchase or don't purchase.
I think we have a good 1-hour formula. Let me recap it. Take 15 minutes, read your own social posts, see if they actually represent you, your brand, and the way you want. Look at the emails that have been going out in mass or even just in your follow-up campaigns,
Mhm.
and then look at the open rates. So read the emails, see if they're actually what you want to say and do they still represent the brand, and then look at the open rates. And then for the last half hour are conversations with people in the business. What are the biggest questions customers are asking these days? What are the biggest concerns they have? What are the biggest objections they have? And with that, you've taken an hour this afternoon, today. You can spend an hour to better coordinate these random acts of marketing.
Yep. That's a great action plan. I might put that on my website now.
I
You
love
came
that.
up with it. I love it.
It's great.
I think, Charlie, one thing, I sometimes view things all from the financial lens. So when Rich was giving his example of Peacock subscription, I started going into shivers. We have a lot in our businesses as entrepreneurs, something I call management influenced waste. We make a decision, we forget about it, we just keep doing it over and
Mhm.
over again. It's a random act of marketing, a random act of this, a random act of that.
Yep.
So the one thing that I've been doing, and maybe we need to partner up in some way, is I've been looking at every single transaction that's going on in a business on their general ledger and their accounting books. And I'm going through it. I'm like, what's this? Oh, I don't know. What's this spent? Oh, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. Oh, we're doing that. We're still doing that.
Yeah.
Whatever. So like one thing that I would add to the list that is not a brand or marketing thing, it's a finance strategy,
Mhm.
is go look at every transaction in your QuickBooks file. It's called a general ledger for the month of January, for the month of February. Go look at every single transaction. And when you get to the marketing bucket, what did you do and what did you get for that? And if you don't know, call Charlie. That's the way I
That's
would
right.
be looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't have this waste in our businesses. Like these random acts of spend and waste is just saying us nowhere. And it probably curls your stomach too. And like people spending so much money on doing these different strategies like email and social and whatever, and they're just like pissing money down the toilet. It's just not
Yeah.
getting the actual desired results. That must make you sick to your stomach. It makes me
Oh,
sick.
it's almost unfathomable how often we can just pile stuff up. I was doing some consulting for a friend of mine who owns a paid ad agency, and he's got a client who runs 6 or 7 events every single year, and they're all pretty much the same event, just in a different city or with a different logo or flavoring on it. Right? They have 6 different websites, 6 individual websites, and they're paying ticketing fees and they're paying for all this other stuff. And I'm sitting here going, you could do this on one website with one transaction fee with 6 different products and it lives under one umbrella. Oh, by the way, you'll cut your costs by about 2/3. But this business owner has been doing it this way for so long that it's kind of hard to comprehend or even see how all of this could come together under one umbrella. And I mean, once you start to go down the cost savings piece of it, which we've now done the math on it and said, hey, just by moving one of these to the site, you're going to cut your cost by almost $3,000. They go, oh, well, hang on. That actually sounds interesting. Didn't know there were other options. Again, I think that's where objectivity can play in your favor, and it doesn't have to be all in-house. John, I think that might be one of the core things that leaders and business owners get stuck on is I've got to figure it out. I've got to be the one who goes and learns the thing. I've got to be the one like the number of times I've called lawyer friends to be like, hey, this contract, is it pretty rock solid? Like, would it hold up in case one of my clients sued me? Yep, absolutely. It's great. I'm not going to go search ChatGPT for that. I'm going to call a real human who actually has expertise in that, who can think objectively about it and not just spit out information, right? And there are specialists for everything these days. There are email specialists, there are text message specialists, there are social specialists, web, like you name it. We have a specialist for it, or a strategist who can help you think it through. It's just a matter of, like, in some ways, kind of swallowing your pride and going, yeah, I do need to call somebody, if nothing else, like we've already said, just to make sure we're doing all of the right things.
Yep. So I want to touch on the second component. We've focused a little bit of this time on the I don't know, like what do entrepreneurs not know and need to go figure out. But the other thing you had said was there's this myth that if I just did this one thing, it would solve all of my marketing problems. And I want to combine this question with what Rich was saying. AI, maybe I just needed to be, if we just got on AI, like our marketing and brand's going to be perfect now, as an example. But I want to tell you this short story to both of you. I was working with an entrepreneur and they were like, oh yeah, we really need to figure out our AI strategy. We really need to figure out our AI search, like AIO or AEO, right? AI engine optimization or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, oh really? I was like, how do you know? Like, how do you know you need to work on that? I was like, let me do a quick search. I bring up ChatGPT and I look for the general category, what they're doing. Tell me the best people in the country for this. And they showed up number 2. And I'm like, I just did this random search, like just right now. Like, why do you think you need to go spend all this money? Like, how do you know? And so I think there's a lot of confusion. And I think there are a lot of businesses right now who think if we just use AI to do all this stuff, that's the one thing that's going to solve all the problems. Mm-hmm. Debunk that myth for me or help amplify it. Like, how should entrepreneurs be thinking about AI in this age related to brand and random acts of marketing?
AI is one of those tools that it's not going to go away anytime soon, right? Like, we're still using Excel almost 35 years later, after it was created, right? Like, there are things that are just going to stand the test of time, and AI is going to be one of them in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Probably not the version and the iteration we have today. I think what a lot of business owners see AI as is the ultimate solution. And I had a conversation with a business owner the other day who said, well, I could just put this into Claude and it could create me a mobile app. And when I said, okay, tell me more about that. Well, I want to get my content in the hands of some other, some people who can't get out of the house. All right, expand on that. Why can't they come to you, or why can't you come to them? Well, they want to do some at-home stuff. Okay, that's great. You're leveraging your expertise to get in front of some new audiences. What else do you have set up? Oh, well, I don't really have a website and I haven't really posted in a while. All of a sudden, we've discovered a bunch of strategic holes that were thought like we're going to have this one thing that's going to solve all of our problems. But now we have no website, no social media, no LMS, no CR. Like they have nothing, and they feel like this is going to be the thing that solves their problems. And so, AI is a great example. But I've had other conversations where, somebody came to me and said, "Hey, this is the one thing that I think will change my business." And then I'll start to ask a bunch of questions and say, what happens after this? And then what happens after that? And then what happens after that? And we discover a lot of gaps where they don't really love the website experience that a customer would go to. They don't really love, that there's no nurture journey after they sign up for a newsletter. There are a lot of different things like that. So specifically with AI, I use it for idea generation all the time. I think entrepreneurs should use it for idea generation and a million other things as often as possible. If you're relying on that to run your business or create structure or frameworks or whatever, it can be helpful, but that's not always the gospel truth. One more story, and then we can go on. I had a small business owner come to me, and they're in a declining industry. And I said, okay, well, what are your goals? And I heard one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. They didn't say, we need this, we need this, we need this. What they said was, we want to duplicate our in-store experience online as much as possible. We want to be the same brand in email and in social media and in text messaging that somebody would experience if they walked through our doors and shook hands with, one of our associates. And I was like, that we can work with, because now that gives us a filter through which we can make all other decisions. Now we say, do you need a new website? No, we don't. It's in good shape. Great. Are we already doing social media? Yes. And it looks and sounds like this. Great. Do we need to update branding? Yes. Great. So you can see that that's a totally different foundational question and way to start out than it is just to think, this is the thing I have to grab at.
Charlie, I love where we got on the question of what am I going to do with an hour this afternoon with kind of coordinating my marketing. I have a similar question on the idea of clarity. If I've got a half hour or an hour this afternoon that I want clarity at the end of it, or I want more clarity than what I have going into it, how am I using that time?
I've got 7 steps that I can give you really quickly.
Oh, please.
And I use this
multi-step formulas. You got to say it at the pace we can write it, though.
You got it. And I'll give a brief description of all of this. So this is the framework that I encourage leaders to do personally, with leadership teams, with other teams, with meetings, with quarterly stratops, annual planning, whatever it is. If you can do these 7 things in this order, I think it's going to get you to a point of clarity. And by the way, clarity is not step 7. I'm just going to give a spoiler right there. Okay. First thing you got to start with is curiosity. We've already talked about curiosity. If you can put yourself in a posture of wanting to ask better questions before prescribing solutions, that is the best place you can be. And there's a bunch of different places you can look at. You got to look at data, because data tells a story. It's not the story, but it does tell a story. You've got to think about your own doubts about what's working and what's not. You got to find places where things might feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe you do want to do something that you've never done before, or somebody's asking for something they've never asked for before. You've also got to look for the voices that are disagreeing. I think that's a really important part of curiosity. That's step 1, curiosity. Step 2, context. What is going on right now that we have to keep in front of us? What are the goals we are chasing? What are the campaigns that are currently running? What are the priorities that we have set? What are the people constraints that we have? Essentially, what game are we playing and how do we win? That's one of the missing pieces in a lot of this, guys, is a lot of teams just lack context. They don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how what they're doing ties to something at the end of the day. Third thing is, we got to look at competitiveness. How is our brand set up to be competitive in the marketplace? What makes us different, not louder? What makes us different, not louder? It's a problem-first positioning in a lot of ways. Number 4, and this is one of my favorite ones because I cut my teeth as a copywriter and a content strategist. Are we being consistent everywhere? Are we saying the same things in sales copy that we do in marketing copy? Is what we say at the top in the C-suite making it down all the way to our customers? Are we being consistent? Because consistency is how brands build trust over time, both internally and externally. The hardest one of these is, are we being concise? Are we trying to do too many things? Could we simplify something? Could we prioritize something? Can we do a phased approach? Can we have fewer priorities, a clearer message that makes it easier for our customers to say yes? Now, after you go through all 5 of those, we should have a point of clarity. There should be a sense of direction where we can say we can all align on what matters. We can look at who owns what. We can think about what happens next. We can even do a little bit of a read back and see our decision-making process and paint a picture forward for a roadmap. And that's step 6. Step 7 is, now we got to go do the things. So now that we have all of these things in order, what can we go create? What can we go test? Where are the low risk places that we can try some of this out and test some of our assumptions and theories? That's where you start to see momentum really build. That's where also, and I know this is hard as a business owner myself, you have to empower other people to go do stuff. You have to trust people in their expertise, in their roles, to go and own their stuff. This is also where I believe you've got to have a short-term and a long-term vision. If you're going to go create stuff, do something short for 30 to 90 days, and then also have a 12-month roadmap and think, what has to be true in order for us to realize or actualize everything that we have now gone through? So 7 C's, very easy. Curiosity, context, competitiveness, consistency, conciseness, clarity, and then creativity.
You said something I was not able to capture around number 3,
I didn't
Competitiveness.
get it either.
where you said, look at what makes you different, not louder.
Mhm.
And then you made another statement that I wanted to probe into, but I didn't quite grab. Do you remember what you said?
I think I said problem first positioning.
Yes. Tell me more about that. What is that?
Oh, I've just gone through this exercise myself, so I will raise my hand and say I am guilty of this as well. I had a sales coach look at my homepage and was like, "Dude, I have no idea what you do. I have no idea what problem you solve. I have no idea what the payoff is or what the value is for me." Now, if you would have read about 2/3 down that page, it was there, probably, sort of. But when we started to dig in a little deeper, I said, "Oh, you're right. I do talk about all of these things in other places, but it's not as prominent as it needs to be." I think we bury the lead so many times about the problem that we solve, thinking that if we say we're the most trusted or the most innovative, or we use all of these fancy fluffy adjectives rather than just saying to you heard me say it on my stuff, I can fix your messy marketing in 30 days. I had to really dial that in, but that's the promise that I make, is that in 30 days you're going to have a strategy that you understand and your brand is going to be more positioned to win. And a lot of businesses forget that if we lead with the problem and hit a pain point quicker, then it's going to create intrigue, open story loops, and hopefully keep your customers engaged a little bit longer. Homepages are just one example. It happens everywhere. If you're using thought leadership on LinkedIn, lead with a question, lead with a problem. If you are thinking about, VSLs, lead with a question, lead with a problem. Don't just worry about pretty faces or, the biggest production or whatever it is.
Charlie, this is great. If people want to get in touch with you and want you to look at what they're doing and help them get clarity, how would you like them to get more of you?
You can always find me on LinkedIn as Charlie Sells, and yes, that is my real last name. It's not just a little moniker or a pseudonym. And ironically, I spent most of my life avoiding sales, and so here I am finally living up to my family name. But you can always find me on LinkedIn, Charlie Sells. You can go to clarityovereverything.com. Read a little bit more about my services. I also have a free PDF there that identifies some of the stuff that we talked about, some of the internal taxes and costs. There's also an evaluation to see how clear and aligned your business really is at this moment in time. And if you start to feel like something is off, reach out and give me a call. I would love to help you have an objective perspective and, in my words, be the Alfred to your Batman.
Charlie, thanks for joining us.
Man, thank you guys for having me.
Stay tuned as John and Rich unpack today's conversation.
Rich, we got the 7 C's right there at the end of that podcast, and I know we love kind of formats like that. I'm curious of the 7 C's. Well, I'm curious because number 1 was curiosity.
Yes, good job.
Which one of those do you feel entrepreneurs struggle with the most?
I feel there are 2. Number 1, curiosity. I think entrepreneurs typically feel like they have to have the answers with their customers. They have to have the answers with their employees. And I think they naturally feel very little room to be curious and not knowing. So I think tapping into what Charlie talked about, asking better questions before prescribing solutions, I think would be very helpful. And I think the second one would be conciseness, which is number 5 for Charlie. I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs that have a lot of information about what it is they do and why it matters and all the history behind what they do. And then they end up over talking to the average employee or customer, and they think they're being generous. They're giving them all of this information and the history, the context, and all of the nuance, and they lost them. They lost. People aren't even listening anymore. So I think the curiosity, like, let's ask some better questions. And I think the ability to be concise is directly correlated with your ability to be heard. If you talk for too long, people don't listen that long. The less words you use, the more likely it is somebody is to actually hear them.
Do you remember back in college pro, right out of college, when we were working together, and what we called that was selling the buffet when your customer really wants the ham sandwich?
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's been a while, but yes.
I've used that many times over the years. To your point, be concise. Tell the customer exactly what you do in as few words as possible, and be bold with your positioning. And he talked about a little bit of that with competitiveness, like, have the problem first positioning. Address the problem. Don't bury it halfway through your story and the customer's sleeping by then. And you're like, oh, and we also, here's how we, lead with it. Lead with, this is what we do, as few words as possible, what you're solving for that customer. So I love that concise area. It's not one that I would have picked, but now I'm with you 100%. It's one that I think hits a lot of areas there where we sometimes barf all over the place when we should just be really concise with what we're trying to say and sell.
I've got to revisit random acts of marketing. The more I thought about that, and I was listening over the course of the podcast, but my mind would not let go of that. That is ever present. When I think of random acts of marketing, I think about unconscious accumulation of things where we're not doing it on purpose. The example I gave was the subscriptions that we pay for on our credit cards, but I made a list of a few others. How about the vendors we use in business? They're unconsciously accumulated. They're kind of randomly not coordinated. I know you're big into having a board of people who are coordinated between your attorney and your accountant and all of the people who you run decisions by, your insurance agency. I mean, I can't name them all. You have like 5 or 6 people that are on your board that were very consciously accumulated. How about tools and software in businesses that are just unconsciously accumulated? They're random tools and software. How about technology replacement? Oh, what laptop is on sale these days? Instead of looking at how do they communicate with each other. How about how we delegate to people? It's just, we do it rather randomly. And if we go back to the home, the credit card one, how about the pots and pans in your cupboard? Are they coordinated or are they random collection of things? How about the clothing you wear? Do you know how classy it looks when I assume you're similar. When I see somebody that clearly has matching shoes to a matching pair of shorts, to a matching shirt, to a matching hat, and they've got a color through all 4 of those, and it's like, oh, they did that on purpose. I will tell you, I don't do that. I have shirts I match up with generally bland colors on my shorts or pants. But to coordinate these things turns this randomness into some magic. How about how we hire people? Random acts of hiring instead of coordinated. This just became ever present to me, John, in this conversation, how our lives are generally a compilation of random acts of unconscious accumulation of things. And we've got to pick a line in the sand on what is important enough to get rid of what we've been doing and now re-coordinate it so it's no longer random.
Wow. That's deep, Rich. I mean, you got me at the pots and pans in my closet for sure. Do you remember a few years ago when I went through the Marie Kondo situation?
Yes.
And I was going through every segment of my house and just getting rid of stuff because I had all these random things that just been accumulating. And I basically took tons of stuff out of my house to donations, and I had to get a dumpster, and we had this stuff just accumulated because things are always incoming. Just think about your personal life. Like you just said, it's a perfect example to the business. We'll get to the business in a second. In your personal life, Amazon's showing up every day. You're bringing in a new couch and you're moving the old couch to the basement. Things are always coming in. When do you clear things out and get clarity over everything, to use Charlie's brand? When do you get clarity, and where is it important? Where is it not? And some people don't have the same level of importance on the pots and pans or clothing or other areas that are in their home. But when you do get a clean desk because you organized it, oh, isn't that beautiful? Like when you organize, by the way, small little thing, I organized my bookshelf last week, and I color coordinated all of my books like I've heard other people do and I've seen other people do. I was like looking, I go, oh, this looks cool. Now I know where books are. And the other day I had to go find a book. I knew exactly where it was because of the color. I was like, oh, wow, it
Yeah,
worked.
because you associate the title of the book with I never thought about that. You could see in my background,
Your books are
I've
all
got
over it.
a
Yeah.
rainbow of books not organized.
Put
I
them
may
in
do this.
color and you'll always know where to go look for it.
All right, I promise sometime, I'm not promising by the next podcast, sometime I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to tell you, and I want to see if you notice.
Okay. I will notice, number one. But number two, that's clarity over everything. Now, think about taking that to your business. One of the things I've been doing with a lot of entrepreneurs is zero-based budgeting. What zero-based budgeting is, every year, you don't just take what you did last year and add 5% to it and do it again next year. You cancel everything, you fire everybody, and you look at everything all over again and go, okay, did we get a return on investment on this? Is it worth doing? Is it not worth doing? Prove it. Show me the numbers that this worked. And oh my gosh, Rich, we have a hard time knowing what's working or not. That's people, that's vendors, that's all the things you just talked about. We don't know if it's working or not. So we just keep it. We just keep rolling forward with it. And we don't really know if it's working. We don't prune things because we don't track how it's doing. We need to track how our employees are performing or getting an ROI. We need to track if this marketing tactic is working, is it getting an ROI? We need to track our consistency in our brand, is it working or not? We have to track these things to know whether they're working or not. I think that's where the major problem is with business, is we don't track it, so we don't know. So we just let the random things continue.
Very interesting. As you're talking about doing that with coaching clients with zero-based budgeting, I thought to myself, am I doing that with leadership? And to some extent, I am. And it's taking inventory of where did the leadership constructs you're currently using come from? And are they coordinated well? And I find there are a lot of people, when I start working with them, they start in a power dynamic of leadership. It's a hierarchical structure that they learned in school, they learned in sports. Somewhere they learn the person at the top of the organization gets to just boss everybody else around and they should just listen. And instead of looking at power dynamics, now looking at influence in relationship and how do we get buy-in from people. So it's interesting. I think I do something similar in this random collection of leadership thinking that entrepreneurs find themselves in. And it's like almost like zero-based leadership and going, okay, can we just build from the ground up? What is the ideal leader in your business today, given your structure, given the people who are in it, given what you sell, given what you do, given what you don't do in the business and what you've delegated? How do we have you lead that well and leave behind some of the constructs you've collected from the past that are no longer working for you?
Love it, Rich. Great conversation here. And I think you're on to that whole idea that Charlie has as a brand, really, which is these random acts. And so I do challenge entrepreneurs to take the hour tips of the 3 or 4 different things that you talked to Charlie about. Go do it. Go see where you're at. And he said he has a self-assessment as well in his business. You can actually go and kind of look at some questions that he asks to really see, do you really know where you really are? Stop wasting time. Stop wasting money. Clarity over everything. Love it.
See you next week.